Today I'm going to show you 3 examples of how you can turn leftovers into freezer meals. Let's go. Now you can see here I have this huge bag of black beans left over, a bunch of rice, and this is my Mexican ranch dressing, which you've seen on another video. And I also have the leftovers from another YouTube video I made, which is this taco salad meat that it's just made out of walnuts and seeds and sun-dried tomatoes. Now, because it all kind of has taco seasoning in it, why not make frozen taco burritos? So I'll go ahead and put everything together in one bowl. Okay, so we'll take my bag of leftover black beans and empty a bunch of this. Then I will add the rice. We'll also add that taco meat. We'll mix all this together. And then we have the filling for our burritos. I'm gonna add a little bit more black beans. Now I will take the tortilla, open up my Mexican ranch because this is what will make it stick together a little bit better. But again, you can honestly make these burritos if all you had was just leftover beans. So then I'll add the filling and we'll turn it into perfect. So I will then put this burrito in a bag and we'll freeze these for later. You want to know what's healthier than potatoes? Leftover potatoes. In fact, when you heat up potatoes, then cool them down and then reheat them, what happens is it increases their resistant starch. Resistant starch acts just like fiber in your gut and your gut microbiome loves it. So the more you heat, cool down, reheat potatoes, the better. And so when I make potatoes, I usually make a large batch in my Instant Pot for about 15 minutes on high pressure. And then I have potatoes to use throughout the week. Now sometimes I have a big batch of mashed potatoes left over if I've made some for my family, and I love to make shepherd's pie with leftover mashed potatoes. So let me show you how I do that. Now of course I'm going to use lentils instead of the typical ground beef in this recipe. I have 5 cups of veggie broth boiling right now. And I'm going to add about 2.5 cups of lentils, chopped onions, and chopped mushrooms. And we'll let that cook up for about 20 minutes. I'm going to cool it down pretty quick by adding an entire bag of corn and peas. This is a frozen bag, so it just quickly cools everything down. Then we'll add some more seasoning. So we have some thyme, onion powder, rosemary, and garlic powder. We'll mix that together. And then for a little bit more flavor, we'll add in some soy sauce. I always just kind of eyeball it. And some Worcestershire sauce. Again, if you're vegan, you can make sure that it's the vegan. Go ahead and taste it and make sure that you like the flavor. Now this is not in the recipe, but I have found that if I add, this is basically just a patty of Beyond Meat that I put in the microwave and then crumbled it up. If I add this to it, my kids will love it. 1 patty for all 6 kids, so I'm not worried about the health aspects of it. A little bit goes a long way. Let's assemble this with the leftover mashed potatoes. Now I am actually going to freeze a batch and then keep half of this for later today. And when I make this, I also make a brown gravy to go along with it, and I'll just drizzle that on top, but I wait until the day of to make that. And I reheated the mashed potatoes in the microwave, so they're a little easier to mix. And then we'll top it off with some vegan parm. And then I'll go ahead and put this in the freezer. When I make rice, I always make a huge batch. I batch cook it, and then I always have leftovers, which comes in handy when I'm looking for meals throughout the week. And similar to potatoes, the more you cook and then cool down rice, then reheat it, the more resistant starch forms, which is so good for your gut. That resistant starch, again, is like fiber, and your gut loves it. So let's repurpose our leftover rice into a casserole. I have chopped my cauliflower, and I want to kind of steam it with about a half a cup of water. The recipe calls for a bell pepper, but I'm out. And I had a yellow squash that I needed to get rid of, so I'm adding a yellow squash instead of the bell pepper, and it will be just fine. So I will steam those veggies for a while to soften them up, about 5 minutes. Now we will add a can of petite diced tomatoes. And then you can use a bouillon cube, but I will use the Better Than Bouillon seasoning and a big, large teaspoon. Now let's add that rice. It's already cooked, so it won't take too long to make the rest of this casserole. It goes really fast. We need some creaminess, so I'll add half of the can of coconut milk, or about half a cup. Remember, many vegetables are fat soluble, so you need a little bit of fat for your body to absorb all the vitamins and nutrients. We need some more flavor, so I'll add about a teaspoon, a little bit more, of oregano. We want to add a big handful of either spinach or kale. That will give it a lot of color. Make sure the kale is de-stemmed. You don't want these chunky stems in there. We'll finish it off with a can of rinsed and drained kidney beans, and then the juice of a lemon. And we'll also add a little bit of salt and pepper to taste. Mix it all in there. I've turned off the heat, so it's just kind of warming up those beans a little bit. We'll add the salt and pepper, again, just to taste. Now this is a fairly large batch. I'll keep some for the kids who want it now, and freeze the rest for a meal later. If you like learning more about how to turn your leftovers into freezer meals, then make sure to click on the link below so that you can get your free 1-week plant-based vegan meal guide.